Thank you, production community, for checking out this quick interview with Ryan Donovan, who serves down at the Avon campus on audio. I've known Ryan for at least 5 years. I remember when he started with Audio Serving the Net, the former young adult ministry, where he met his wife, Rochelle. I remember when he started as a monitor engineer when we were first developing that position in the center. I remember asking him to do it because he was helping in the net and also serving in choirs at the time, back when we used to do choirs for big holiday services. So I knew he was musical and technical, so I sought him out for that. And both Ryan and Rochelle have been serving at Avon since the launch. Ryan was there for the first day, the first Easter at our newest location, at our first location. Probably the most difficult Easter that I have been a part of at Connection Point. But I knew he was the guy since he lived in Avon, and he's just one of those guys that you know that he would give you his left leg if you asked him. I've been super appreciative of his friendship over the years, and I asked him to do this interview and tell us about himself and serving at Avon. So, Ryan, how did you get here, and how's it going now?
Thank you, Scott. It's a pleasure to be here. I uh, I started Avon. It's been a lot ever since then. It's been a lot of fun getting to know the integral parts of how to set up all your technical audio stuff. I've never done any of that before. It's been a really big educational thing for me. I live like 2 minutes away from the Avon Middle School. I actually went to church. I used to go to church at Faith Baptist Church in Avon. So that's the red brick building across the street from the Avon Middle School.
Okay, nice.
I used to go to church there. It's Fundamental Baptist Church. We sang a bunch of hymns. We primarily they stayed with the piano and the organ. But I never got involved with any of the audio stuff there. That's how I was introduced to singing in general. A lot of chords in the hymns. Those are usually pretty good to learn on. But yeah, and then after, I guess I was going to church there since through high school. So I got involved with some choirs in high school. Moving forward to Avon, I really enjoyed getting to learn the audio board. That's something that caught my interest. I've always thought like pushing faders was I never really understood what all of this meant. What was an EQ? I came into learning how to use the audio board with zero experience. It was really fun learning from you, Scott, being taught how to just turn knobs, I suppose, but more importantly, listen. Uh, in musical training, there are exercises that teach you to, if someone hits a B on a keyboard, you're able to listen, hear, and then identify, oh, that note's a B. It's ear training stuff. The ear training that you introduced me to was totally different, and it kind of blew my mind regarding, okay, now you're hitting an instrument and you have to identify what were the frequencies on that instrument that it produced, and then figuring out where to go on the EQ to identify what we want to hear. That was a totally new experience. I absolutely loved it. Kind of nerded out, but that was a lot of fun for me.
So, how did you go from Faith Church to Connection Point?
Yeah, I went to college out in South Carolina. I attended Bob Jones University for a year. And then I came back, I changed my major, and I came back to IUPUI. And whenever I attended IUPUI, that's whenever I was living downtown Indianapolis, and I found Connection Point in Brownsburg, and it felt home to me. So after being away for some time and coming back, I took a couple years off of going to church. I stopped attending, getting involved, and I wanted to uh, find that again. So I visited a couple churches and absolutely fell in love with Connection Point. The net was a big deal for me. I think it was just starting when I first returned back to attending. College age individuals, there really wasn't any source of gathering anywhere else. Out of high school, there's just main service. Nothing wrong with that. But I wasn't involved with a small group. I wasn't involved with um, any of the church activities at the time. So going to the net, that was a really great introduction back for me. And that's whenever I wanted to get back involved. I got
And
involved mostly because I enjoyed sound equipment. I muddled with trying to install a new head unit in my truck. I trying to play with installing new speakers in my vehicles. Never really got very far, and I knew I had no idea what I was doing. So, but it was something I dabbled in. I liked it. It wasn't anything crazy. Um, so seeing all that technical gadgetry behind the soundboard kind of piqued my interest. It was fun to look at. I really enjoyed getting to know more about all the science behind it, though. That was a treat.
yeah, yeah, you're definitely the guy that likes to know how a thing works, not just that it works or doesn't work, but how and why. Yeah, yeah, I definitely appreciate that about you. So knowing I mean, honestly, and that was one of the first, like, one of the big reasons why I called you, for Avon, because it's technically difficult. We try to make it as easy as possible, but it's guaranteed something is going to go wrong, and you're going to need some sort of understanding, knowledge of how the many pieces go together in order to figure out which of the pieces is the one that's making everything else not work. So um, I knew Avon would be just that I could trust Avon with you. So tell me, now that you've been doing this for over 2 years, because we've had two Easters there, I guess three if you count the first one.
Yep.
How would you say, does it feel any different now today since that first Easter that we were on together?
Oh, it feels so different. Set up and tear down. They're a lot, but we've been able to create a system that makes it way more manageable. That's minimizing the amount of movement of equipment, and uh, we've been able to make some permanent connections, fewer wires that have to be plugged in, and we're running them on the stage um, in a manner that's we're eliminating as many connections as possible for what we have to do every morning and what we have to do to tear down after every service. Um, I think that's a huge benefit, and Riley's doing a great job, and he's carrying the torch. And when things technically go awry, he's on it and doing his work to make sure it runs great. There's a lot of stuff that he knows that I don't, and I'm really happy he's there too.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. Me too. Speaking of other technical things that you love to do, um, you're wearing the shirt. Today's your work day. Thanks for taking time off to meet with me here.
Sir.
But so for Spear Corp, you were part of the design and build for the Olympic swim trials in the Lucas Oil Stadium. Was that in like May, June, somewhere around there? Um,
That's right.
you want to tell us what was that process like? What was your part in all of that?
2024 swim trials downtown Indianapolis and Lucas Oil Stadium. That was a 2-year project. We started back in 2022. My role in the whole thing was design. My company was responsible for all the filtration and supplying, making sure the water was clean and maintain the clean water. And then we ran all the piping and connected on the backside of the stainless steel pools. So Spear, our responsibility was water and making sure the water didn't change colors and it was clean to swim in, and making sure that you could see through the water and see the floor without any haziness. That's a big deal. We took 2 years to design back in 2022. Kind of got an initial layout with Lucas Oil, and then we kind of moved forward with making this a reality. Really, where do the filters go? Where do the surge tanks go? How are we going to pipe this all? Where are we getting our water from? How are we going to heat the pools? How much energy goes into heating the pools? And then as you get further, closer and closer to the deadline, okay, now we're ordering equipment, because we only have, I believe it was 4 weeks to build both pools. And so we had to not just plan the build, but then plan each of the phases of construction so that we're not building on top of each other. You have the pool shell going in, and then you have the filters going in, so that when the pool shell is finished, we can plumb up to them right as they're being finished and make the connections into the back of the gutter. And then while we're plumbing, the guys doing all the decking can come in and deck all the platforms around our piping so that we're not trapped underneath. They had us move into the suites right there, right at the stadium, right on the football floor, really. And they had me. My office for 4 weeks was Pat McAfee's suite.
Nice.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah. You get some good pictures?
I got a couple pictures.
Good.
But yeah, it was great to be on site. I had my computers running. I was working on other projects at the time, right? So my work is complete. Design has been done for a while. Now it's a matter of guys in the field are building, they're doing the construction. Hey, we need to clarify some dimensions. Sure, let me bring this back up, run a few dimensions, and then it's all right there. Super quick access for those guys to get the information they need. Change did happen. This was the very first time the swim trials have come to Indianapolis. And when you're building in a new facility, sometimes they're just unknowns that pop up. We had to push back bleachers, for example. And in the plan, we had some bleachers pushed back and some bleachers left forward so that it would allow for some seating if needed. At the end of the day, those bleachers were all connected. So the ones that were left forward, they actually that required all the bleachers to be left forward. Well, unfortunately, we have our filtration system underneath the bleachers. We have nowhere else to put that. We had to move all those back. We took some dimensions right there in the field. We took some, verified up against the wall. Yes, if you're going to have all this other environment out in the middle of the field where we can't relocate, we have to push all of these bleachers back. And you know what? It worked out great. The decking team really helped with the coordination, and they were super flexible. It was a really good team to work with, for sure. One of the problems that we ended up having was the team doing the decking wasn't able to see below the bleachers because they're working on a finished product. They're trying to put all their lights, their sound equipment to show to show out to all the patrons that are going to be there. They're not necessarily seeing what's underneath. And at one point, we had a pool that was standing inside of a concrete column. And no one knew about it for several months. Actually, it was really concerning. And I found this random square in the middle of the pool, and there's a couple of them, and uh, I don't think we can dive. We can't have starting blocks going into whatever this square is. Is this, is this on the floor? Is this just a box on the floor, or is this actually, a structural column? And go do a site visit, do some measurements. Yeah, that doesn't move. We can't relocate that one. That's concrete.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a fun moment. We ended up having to shift the pools a little bit,
Mm.
um,
Oof.
and then avoid having laying the system out in the wrong location. So yeah, it was super important, but it turned out to be non-issue. We all made it work.
Yeah. Yeah. I think what I find cool is that you're talking about you were basically in charge of the quality of the water, and that's the thing. Like, besides the actual swimmer in the water, it's the water that's on camera all the time. So like anything else in that stadium could have been a disaster, but if the water was wrong, the entire world would know it. So it's a lot of pressure, and
I
it's cool.
forget which Olympics. I think it was in Rio where the water turned green.
Ooh.
Um, yeah, and that was the last thing we wanted. We couldn't do that on the I guess the world stage. Let the water go sour on us.
So what's next for you?
I've got a couple high school competition pools we're working with, and I have a couple of community aquatic centers that are going in. I had the privilege of working on Murphy Park out here in Avon. That was my project, and that was a lot of fun. So a lot of swimming pools for activity purposes. That Murphy Avon was my first wave pool. You know, um, Rochelle she's got applications out for medical school right now,
That's the
and
big thing.
our big plans are really just focused on what's next for her. Um, she has a couple applications out to different schools around Indiana, and then different schools outside of Indiana.
Good. Well, man, thank you. Thank you for your time. Thanks for doing this with me.
Thank you, Scott. It's been nice. It's been great to learn from you, and it's been great to be a part of Connection Point and be able to serve, be able to give back a little bit.